Hey, this is Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and this week I'm tackling a 1953 Chevy from Hot Wheels. This is the one with the clear hood and the matte green paint job. It's actually kind of a slick paint job, which I totally screw up, but that's not the point at this point of the video. Obviously, taking it apart and seeing what we have to work with is always step one. Plastic base, plastic interior, metal body. Overall, pretty decent casting, if you can excuse the completely chrome interior, which we will change, obviously. But at least it has a blue windscreen, that it's not tinted a weird color for a change. Other than that, I think it looks pretty cool. It's one of my favorite castings. So, first thing's got to go is the hood. You can snip this off. You can use a jeweler saw or a coping saw, whatever you want to call it. I choose to do 90% of my work with a cutoff wheel because it's quick, it's easy, it's fast, and I tend to work better with it, I guess. I don't know. Just so used to using it that second nature for me. So get rid of the hood, trim back the windscreen itself so that it's flush with the engine compartment. And speaking of the engine compartment, first thing is going to go is what it has for a motor. I'm kind of playing around with some various motors that I have. I pretty much keep every motor or every piece of a motor because you never know what you're going to use. It's always good to have. So I kind of cut what I had inside, and then I'm just going to essentially at that point clean out the middle so I have a nice clean area between the two wheel wells to work with. It's not a lot of room in there, so obviously getting rid of what's there helps tremendously when it comes to the spacing issues. If it was flat, it would be different, but because there was a motor in there, obviously I have to clean it out. So I'm just using this deburring tool. Works pretty good. Again, you can do this however you want. You can probably do it with a knife. I'm just trying to make some short work of it and flush everything out from the firewall all the way up in between both fender wells, almost up to where the radiator would go. And that's more than enough room, at least with the motors to scale that I'm working with, to have an area big enough to put a motor in and have it look pretty decent. So obviously now that it's cleaned out, I've got to create a base to put the new motor on that's not all bumpy and raised like it was originally. So I'm just using a really thin piece of styrene out of my assorted kit. I never throw anything away. I always have little pieces that work out perfectly for this, so I'm not cutting up a nice brand new sheet. I mean, at some point you're going to have to anyways, but I always try to keep every little piece because you never know. So a little bit of trimming, file and fitment, and you get a nice base to work with, and that will be where the motor gets mounted. Now, I wanted some tailpipes on these, but I didn't want them hanging down below the cars. This is a custom, so what I'm going to do is kind of French in the rear bumper. So I'm just going to create a radius where I want the exhaust to come out. Again, I'm going to use the same deburring tool. It's actually the right diameter for what I'm looking for. Just a happy accident, I guess you could say. So I'm pretty much just going to bevel up about halfway up through the bumper. And what that does is just creates a nice radius so that I don't have to have I don't know, I just think it looks cleaner with it flush mounted with the base. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. Now, obviously, the chrome, you can strip this if you want. I'm masking off the front and rear bumpers and the interior at this stage because I want to paint everything else black. And again, you can put this in some super clean or lime away or whatever it is everybody does and strip it down to black, which is what it'll be. I just prime it, let it dry, and then I paint it. Works for me, but do what you feel works best for you. So now it's time to get into the debacle that was the paint job. I painted this thing so many damn times. I ended up just getting so frustrated and fed up. So I planned on just going with like a flat black body, and I wanted to keep the roof, just like that. That's exactly what I wanted when I had it in mind, and with a white interior. And it didn't work out that way. And shame on me. It's Unfortunately, I only have myself to blame. I took some shortcuts that I thought would work. By the way, I had some wheels that actually worked, that I didn't have to make tubes, and they fit perfectly. Doesn't happen very often, but I was able to snap them right back into the same place I took the other wheels out of. And they were white walls. They're just perfect for what I wanted. And so that's like the only thing that kind of went right for this whole project. Excuse me. But I should have left it alone right there and just did the detail work. But I didn't. So here I masked off everything except for the interior. I'm going to spray paint that white, and that pretty much gives me a nice base to work with for detail work. The engine, it's a combination of the chrome and some aluminum, and I think it came out really good. But back to the paint job, I took some shortcuts. Instead of mixing the clear coat that I use for 99.9% of everything I do, I had a can of 1K clear that I bought at the Auto Body Supply House last year, and I thought that it was good. It was. The problem is I put it on too heavy, and because I'm so used to painting a certain way with an airbrush, when I went to a rattle can, I kind of screwed everything up. Here you can see I laid some chrome down on the headlights and taillights, and on the front I'm going to put some Createx Pearl White over the chrome. Then on the back I got some red that I'm putting on the taillights that goes over the chrome as well. I did the radiator support, the top of the radiator bronze, which was a Citadel color. I don't know which one. It's one of the bronzes. But anyways, the whole point of this video, and the reason I am showing it, is when you rush and when you take shortcuts, sometimes it works. But when it doesn't, man, does it not work. I ended up painting this to black like you see here. I tried to mask off everything and just clear the roof. You can see I even went so far as to paint the dash pad the same color green. I mixed up a couple colors and found something that was pretty close to the darkest green on the roof. But I totally screwed that up. But anyways, I masked off everything. I'm ready to go. I got this 1K clear. It didn't work. It just went on too heavy. Then I tried sanding it down a little bit so I could wet sand it and buff it. I went too deep and went into the green. So then I was going to polish it and go with an entirely different, like a different approach, and go with some Spectraflame colors, which I ended up leaving the roof Spectraflame. I think it's magenta or lavender or salmon, or I don't even know what color it is, but I was just so frustrated at this point because I thought I could save it, excuse me, by wet sanding it. I just went just a little too deep. I got a little too aggressive because I was pissed off, and I just took it too far, and it was far enough where I probably could have buffed it out and looked okay, but you would have seen some of the green was gone. It just would have looked stupid. So I decided to put it back in the stripper, paint it all over again. I did the whole car with the Spectraflame paint. Then I went back over and just masked off the roof, and then ended up going with a Splash Paints Pearl White, which in the end I'm very happy with. I have like one little spot that didn't come out good, but it wasn't from the paint. It was from me catching it with a knife. But overall, I mean, I like the color combo and how it ended up. But the process to get there was, I mean, this thing almost ended up against the wall probably 3 or 4 times. It's just so frustrating. You paint it, you put it back in the stripper, you clean it, you do all kinds of stuff. Especially when it's multiple coats, it just really gets frustrating. So I got this Bright Vision paint with the lavender, which is really pretty color. And you can see right there, that's with the white from Splash Paints. And where I screwed up the black paint and where I've screwed up just about every place else was trying to do the trim. I was trying to use an X-Acto knife to scrape away instead of trying to paint it with a chrome pen. And I just got a little too aggressive. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to go slow, but I just nicked one little spot on the driver's side. Then I tried to touch it up with the same color paint, but because it didn't come out spray brush, whatever. Anyways, this whole video is just me pissing and moaning, so it is what it is. I like to show things that don't come out as good as things that do come out good, just to show that we all have to start somewhere. We all make mistakes. I can cover it up if I wanted to, but it is what it is. Obviously, subscribe if you like it. Comment down below. This is what I started with, which I just think I love the stance. I like to chop on the roof. This is what I ended up with. Again, I dig it. You can see the one spot above the rear wheel that I tried to touch up, and I said, I'm not freaking painting this thing again. So this is kind of where it ended up. So it's 98% done. Overall, I love the car. I'm glad it ended up in this color combo. I wish I would have achieved it in a different route, but overall, I like the engine swap. I like the wheels. I love the color of the roof. But just wanted to show you, not everything goes as planned. So, and believe it or not, sometimes I actually do have a plan. And this is why I usually try to avoid having a plan, so I don't have the disappointment of having to do things multiple times. But overall, again, I give it a 50%. I have rough standards for myself, so. But it was a fun build. They'll probably end up redoing it again at some point when I'm not so pissed off. But the pearl white looks really good. It pops against the lavender. I dig the color scheme. If I redo it, I'm probably going to do the same color scheme, but just do it better. Thanks for watching. I will catch you on the next one.